trashy pulp novels of the world have anything to offer? Are bestsellers all they're hyped up to be? The Terrible Book Club explores whether or not you really can judge a book by its cover or its ridiculous synopsis. If you've ever seen a book and thought, ugh, who's reading this? We probably are.
Crossover episode of the Terrible Book Club. We got a full house here. Everyone's in on the party. We're all jamming over here. I'm Chris. This is Paris, and then we have these two other folks over here. Paris, introduce your friends, please.
Hi. do you want us to introduce ourselves?
Yeah, please.
All right.
No, it's fine.
Hi, I'm Ken.
And I'm Dee.
And we're the Antiques Freaks, but today we are book freaks.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was crying. I'm still crying.
It's fine.
I know it's an emotional moment.
Yeah, all friends together. Talk about books.
All right,
Talk about antiques.
Okay, I have tears streaming down
Talk
my
about
face.
Boston Revolution
Yeah,
with Johnny Tremain.
Okay, so hello, I am Paris, and I am kind of drunk. And this is Dee, who I went to high school with, and Ken, her wonderful friend, and both of them are antiques experts, and they host the show Antiques Freaks, which is wonderful.
Aww.
And this is the crossover effort of those two. I'm really sorry. I was struggling to talk. I was just laughing really hard and crying. So
I refuse to let your
Sorry
laughing
about
fit
that.
end before we start.
Good
the
audio.
episode.
Good audio.
Yeah.
Because we had.
Are you saying
Dance
Johnny
records.
Tremain brought you to tears?
Yeah. I mean, I
yeah,
cried a little
I mean-
too.
Who wrote this book, by the way? I don't remember the author.
Esther Forbes.
Okay.
So yeah, this time on Terrible Book Club, we read Johnny Tremain, and we read it with the Antiques Freaks because they're fucking cool.
Aw, thank you.
They're the best. And so we read this because, well, I want to say it's an antique, but I don't think it is. I think it's actually vintage, right? Am I right?
It is
There's a
vintage.
difference?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
Hold on, what is
if
the
you would
difference?
fucking listen to
Okay.
the episodes, Chris.
Fine. For the uninitiated, what's the difference between antique and vintage?
Vintage is older than 50 years. Antiques is older than 100 years.
Oh, okay.
So
Interesting.
this nests nicely between the two, I think, technically, because it came out in the 40s, right?
Yep, 1943.
Okay. So it's an antige or a vintique, perhaps?
Vintique. I like that.
Oh, I like that.
Vintique.
Oh.
That sounds like a hashtag Vintique, like a thing that would be
Oh,
popular
I'm
on
gonna
the
blow that up on Twitter.
Let's get that trending.
I'm gonna get that trending.
Yes.
Hashtag
All right.
vintique. Okay.
Hashtag Vintique. All right.
So let's talk. We read a book. It's an old ass book. It's about Boston stuff. So I feel like we should be familiar with it a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
like, although Dee and I grew up in a town about 60 miles south of Boston, I've lived in Boston and its surrounding environs for like 11 years now, and Chris has lived in Boston his entire life.
Wow.
So we're pretty familiar with the environment of Johnny Tremain.
Oh, so you guys could like close your eyes and just be there.
Yeah. It was
yeah.
really
Open
easy.
their
I
eyes
just
and
thought
just be
about.
Oh wait, you're in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. No.
Both works.
No, like
Everything works.
For me, that's really the case because I worked at I can let this out of the bag now because I no longer work there, but I worked at the New England Aquarium for several years recently, which would be pretty obvious if you listened to that episode that we did about the mermaid at the aquarium book.
Yeah. What's up?
But yeah, so. And where the New England Aquarium is now in Boston is actually basically where this book takes place.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, so Central Wharf is basically like it's right next to Long Wharf, and like where Fish Street or Fish Ave or whatever was in Johnny Tremain Fish Street, I think.
They had to they only had so many streets back then, so you really didn't
Yeah.
have to be that creative with the streets. Like that's the one with the fish on it.
Yeah.
Let's go to Fish Street. Go to the one with the fish. Like how there's a school street fucking every. Have you noticed there's a school street? There's a school on it. Turns out.
Yeah, Main Street, School Street, Fish Street. There's all those streets. But yeah, so when I worked in that area, I was, as I was reading this, I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh shit, that's where all this stuff was. Cool, but like,
That's where the fish lives.
yeah, but like,
Nice.
when they were talking about like where the I mean, in the book they call it the Boston Observer, but I think in real life the printing shop was called something else. I don't remember.
The
but,
Boston Looker.
The Boston Looker, yeah. Whatever.
Oh, God.
But so yeah, despite living in the area, Chris and I don't have the stereotypical Boston accent, so be thankful.
I am
that
so
we don't.
thankful.
Yeah. Dee and I grew up in an area of the state where the accent is even worse, if you can imagine that.
It's wretched.
But somehow we managed to just purge it from our bodies at an early age. I know I did.
I went so in the opposite direction that I still get people asking if I have my customer service voice on. They're just like, "Oh, are you Irish? Are you Southern?" Like, I got that transatlantic thing like blooming.
Yeah, I mean, and trust me, if you grew up where Dee and I grew up, you would absolutely want to rip that accent from your gullet like some kind of alien spawn. Like, it's real bad. Yeah, anyway.
Johnny Tremain's book. We're here to talk about books.
Yeah, well, I'm fucking setting a scene here, all right?
Yeah.
All right? So,
Johnny Tremain tore his own accent out of his
that
larynx.
the aquarium is on the remains of Fish Street.
I'm delighted to
it's
learn that
not.
Johnny Tremain was a fish.
well,
Oh,
no.
yeah.
I honestly, if Johnny Tremain was a fish, this book would have been way more interesting. This book is fucking boring as hell. So apparently, this book gets assigned to children in school, and I don't know how that doesn't cause just a total revolt amongst the whole classroom. Like, this book is boring as fuck. What teacher is like, "Oh, I know what'll keep him entertained, Johnny Tremain"? Like, nah, this sucks.
But Paris, it's about a teen just like you.
Yeah, just like you.
I'm a teenager.
A really asshole teen, just like
I mean,
you.
yeah, he is kind of a dick, which is like sort of realistic.
Completely,
huge jerk.
I was a
Like
little
a
surprised where for a bit I was just like, this is probably the most accurately a teenager's ever been written.
Yeah, I mean, so there are some things about the book that I appreciate. So Esther Forbes, the author of Johnny Tremain, is actually a historian, and she wrote a biography of Paul Revere that is, I mean, as far as I can tell from the excerpts I've read, far better than Johnny Tremain. So, like, don't waste your time with this. Read the biography of Paul Revere, like, if you're interested in Revolutionary Boston history, because it's just so much better. I mean, I think when she... Like, she was trying to do a good thing here, right? Like, she was trying to get people interested in the Revolutionary War and get them interested in, like, fighting for individual liberty and what they believed in, because this book was published during World War II when, like, America was getting involved. And, you know, this book was aimed at kids who were about to enlist in the military and fight during World War II.
Oh.
So with that in mind, like,
You just made everything make a whole lot more sense
Oh
to
shit,
me
I had no
yeah.
idea.
as to, like, why this book takes the turn it does.
Yeah,
Because
that's the
one
context.
second it's about some really asshole silversmith, and then the next is, like, slowly taken over by, like, a history class. Like, you're
Yep.
trying to have a good time about this weird dude's fucked up hand, and, like, oh, that's cool, see how he handles that shit. But then all of a
I'm just
sudden,
trying to
like,
party on it. Like,
yeah, Paul Revere and Sam Adams showing up, like, making, like, serious fucking, like, speeches and stuff, and I'm...
Yeah, so like, I think if you're divorced of that context, it's a really shitty book. But, like, I don't know, it's one of those things where I don't think it's a great book, but I understand the intent and I respect the intent. But yeah, like, it's really too bad, because Esther Forbes was a historian, and when she wrote notes, she was also dyslexic. So her notes were incredibly difficult to decipher. Like, the way that she wrote books, she didn't use punctuation except for dashes.
oh, that's okay. I can definitely see that in the end
and-
result.
So her poor editor was like, "What the fuck, Esther? What are you doing? What am I supposed to do with this shit?" And she's like, shut up, just edit it, you fuck. I mean, she was from Worcester, so Esther Forbes is also from
That's
Massachusetts.
probably what she sounded like
so,
then.
so she had
she
that
probably-
accent.
Yeah, she's probably like, just fucking edit it, you fuck. I mean, I don't know.
You got any oxys?
That's too real. Too real.
Zing! Gotcha, Esther!
Oh, wow.
Take that, Esther Forbes.
So this was before the heroin epidemic in Massachusetts.
No, in fact, Esther Forbes was a heroin addict pioneer.
No.
Get ready for
Why
Johnny
this book
Tremain
is so
where he gets
boring, and
addicted
why I
smack.
feel like I'm gonna nod off at any second when I read it.
No, this book does not infuse you with opioid. That's not what happens.
I did fall
Alright, so-
asleep.
Yeah, it was
See?
really boring.
See, Paris?
So I also hands up, who fell asleep during this book? I'm raising my hand.
Raising my hand.
Hand is down. The hand is down.
Oh wow.
Oh, Ken was engaged.
I nearly fell asleep.
Okay, so Ken and Chris survived. Dee and I passed right the fuck out. I mean, yeah. So all right, who wants to like give a synopsis?
Yeah, let's let the antiques
Because
freaks take over this book summarizing thing for
to
once.
Do that,
Oh boy.
All right, antiques
once-
freaks, hit us. Summarize.
Once upon a time.
Okay.
Yeah, I vote for Ken.
All right, he's got it. He's got the reins.
Oh god, I've never ridden a horse. Once upon a time, Johnny Tremain was 14 years old and a silversmith in the 1770s.
It's good so far.
Yeah. We're
Sounds
good.
good.
We're good.
Something, his dead dad was part of a merchant family maybe, so he had like a silver cup saying you're definitely supposed to be rich, go find your destiny or whatever, and then silversmithing,
Yeah.
work on a Sunday, oh god, my hand.
Yeah, God took his hand.
God took
Yeah,
his hand as punishment for working on Sunday.
because Ben Franklin needed a not Ben Franklin.
John Hancock. Very close.
Yeah.
You were very close.
John
Hancock comes by and is like, I need
needed
a new fucking sugar bowl or whatever.
John Hancock needs to put his sugar in the finest dish.
The only
Okay.
You kind of sound like you're John Hancock talking in the third person right now. Like, that's how he rolled up there. Like,
Is that
John
how he rolled
Hancock only has the finest sugar basins. Silversmith, you must repair this.
I mean, hey man, sugar's fucking expensive at that time, right? So like,
for
you gotta
sure.
put it in an expensive ass dish. Like, that's just how it goes.
All right.
Sorry. So continue. Ken.
Continue.
So John Hancock swings by and is like, sugar bowl make, please. And Johnny Tremain, after going to Paul fucking Revere for advice on how to make a matching sugar bowl.
Yeah, and his advice was do it good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
do it good instead of bad.
like, renowned silversmith just goes, "Don't fuck it up, boy." And
Yeah.
he's like, "All right."
Just gets real up in his face and goes,
don't do bad.
Yeah.
You considered being good at your job and get out of my house.
I didn't realize Paul Revere was a silversmith too. I just thought he was.
Wait, what?
I thought he was just like a professional horse yeller guy.
No, the horse yelling
Like-
was secondary to the
The
silversmithing.
professional horse screamer.
Yeah, like he just gets on the back of the horse and he yells shit about like what had, because like back then you didn't have the internet, so someone just had to yell about it really loud the whole time.
No, I mean that whole thing is kind
That's
of.
why it was hear ye, check out the newspaper or whatever, because you just had to scream about it. Twitter back then was just someone yelling.
That's like Twitter now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's still the same thing.
Oh, could you imagine
But-
Paul Revere tweeting?
I mean, he'd just be like, "Silver bowl, 400 shillings."
He'd probably just, yeah. I was going to make a joke about him getting captured and immediately rolling on his compatriots, but
oh,
this is what actually happened.
oh yeah.
Wait,
Paul
did
Revere
that happen?
zings.
Yeah.
Wait, did that happen?
Yeah. I don't. I might
sorry,
be exaggerating
I'm sorry.
a little on him rolling on the, the Yankees, but he, like, the result of the midnight ride was that he got captured by the British and they like kicked his ass, and he was like, okay, I'll tell you where they're marching.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, they left that part
was
out of
not
Johnny Tremain.
covered. Yeah, I was gonna say that was not covered in this book. So fuck you, Esther Forbes, for giving us false hope. So anyway, all right. So Johnny silversmithing on a Sunday to finish the ship for Benjamin John Franklin Adams, and it's like
The ultimate
The flesh
forefather.
golem that made up our early Congress.
yeah.
It's the Captain Planet of the American
So-
He
Revolution.
summoned
Yeah,
the dark
so-
forces, and he was like,
So he's
I
trying
need
to
sugar.
finish this ship for American Captain Planet, and he's like, "Oh fuck, God took my hand." So really, God didn't take his hand. His fucking shitty apprentice friend intentionally destroyed his hand
With
and
molten silver.
Yeah, with molten silver, like, okay, A, that's super fucking metal, but, like, B, that's really fucked up, and I can't believe that guy didn't get any retribution for doing that.
No comeuppance whatsoever.
There's really, like, plots don't end in resolution in this book.
No.
The real
Shit just kind
comeuppance was the friends we made along the way.
Exactly.
Yeah, really.
You will
Yeah,
regret
fuck
that for the
punishment.
rest of your life with all the friends you've made.
Yeah, so, like, so this fucking guy intentionally ruins his hand, and, I mean,
He's a child. Let's not.
I don't care. He deserves to be
He's like
killed.
14.
Yeah. When I was
whatever,
a teenager, I was hurting people on purpose.
You know what? To the fucking gallows, bitch. All right, like I'm not dealing with this. But anyway, so this happens, and they give this description of his malformed hand, but I don't feel like I ever really understand what is totally wrong with it.
All right, so hold out your hand, palm up.
Okay.
Now bend your thumb in towards your pinky finger.
Okay.
Now imagine that your skin is melted together in a way that your thumb is stuck there.
Oh. I mean, you still got the other 4, right? They're still moving.
That thumb's really important, Paris. I don't know if you know this, but like it's one of those major evolutionary features.
Wait, was it this is right hand or his left hand?
I don't think it matters.
It's his right hand,
right?
It's his right hand. He has to
'cause he
relearn
had
to
to
write with his left hand.
Yeah, he had to relearn how to do everything
yeah.
else with the offhand.
I mean, it's not the worst, but I mean, in that time period, they were probably. I'm surprised he wasn't burned as a witch. Like, to be serious, like,
Yeah.
I really.
Or that he didn't die of infection.
Yeah, I was really surprised when people didn't just like put a bag over his head and like drown him or something. Like, you know, I mean,
Well, this apprentice is ruined.
Victorian ugly laws hadn't come into play yet.
yeah, because I mean, at that time, anybody that was any sort of deviation from the norm, even if you were too old, like, people suspected you of witchcraft and fucked up shit. Like, I imagine having a visible deformity was even worse, which is
No, we're a little past the Salem witch trials at this point. We're about 100 years past.
Yeah.
Because, like, the Salem witch trials went down so hard, so fast, that all of
Yeah.
Massachusetts kind of looked at it and was like, we're done with the witch
Yeah,
thing.
they got
Yeah.
sick to their stomach, and they were like, let's not anymore.
yeah.
I will say there was a lot of missed opportunities for like insults based on the hand, because boy, are there insults flying for about every other thing
I could've-
in this book. So many old timey insults.
Yeah.
You scumabund layabout.
Squeak
you
pig.
Squeak pig was
Squeak
another one.
pig.
I don't know what that is. Also, you dirty slut. How
Dude.
dare you stand?
Yeah, like, my favorite was him just going, fuck slut, and I was like, whoa!
Yeah,
No,
I was
okay.
howling because
No,
it was just
there's-
like, I didn't expect him to be like, fucking slut. Like,
Yeah,
That's
like,
no okay. It was a
whoa.
little different. It was the mom of the household, the silversmith, Mrs. whatever.
No,
her-
she didn't say it.
He called someone was called a dirty slut because you see back then a slut was simply a dirty woman, physically
Yeah,
dirty
like,
woman,
unkempt.
not necessarily sleeping around with all the peasant boys or whatever. It's just a literally dirty woman.
But, like,
Yeah.
how do you assign that in the 21st century and be like, hey, kids, just don't worry about that
Oh,
slut
every
reference.
fourth grade
Yeah,
class
There's a
ever
lot
was
in
giggling.
this book that does not hold up in the 21st century.
Yeah, I mean, and anyway, so, sorry, we're getting, like, sidetracked, but, so his hand gets fucked up, and he's, like, fucking lobster Tremain, and then he's like,
A Boston delicacy.
yeah, and then everyone tries to hunt him for his delicious lobster meat.
yeah, that's why nobody insults him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, people are just total dicks to him, because once he doesn't have a financial function, because fucking capitalism, everyone's like, fuck you, Tremaine, you're not gonna marry my daughters, you're not gonna live in this house, get the fuck out of here. And so then he has to go try to find a job doing, I don't know, shrug something. So he eventually ends up working for the Boston Observer, which was, I don't remember what the real,
Boston Looker.
no, I don't remember what the real, like,
The Boston
now-
Take a Gander.
yeah, whatever.
The Boston,
anyway.
not a front for the revolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not a front for the Revolution newspaper, which was a real thing. I don't remember what it was actually called. And so he ends up working there and ends up getting tied up with the revolutionaries, because you see in this book, the main character has to be tied up in all things historical in Boston at all times in this time period.
Yeah, he
It's
knows everybody.
Very unrealistic.
We got Sam Adams up in here, John Hancock, Big Ol' Hank, Ben Frankie showing up, some old guy that gives a speech at the end that everyone's like really moved by. I forgot. Like,
Oh,
he's-
yeah,
You
yeah.
just call John Hancock Big Ol' Hank.
yeah, Big Ol' Hank.
You wouldn't?
Yeah,
No, I
Hank.
am forever from now on.
Yeah, no, I got a list of active
Hank.
historical people.
that's
Yeah,
what they call them.
you got like some doctors, some
John
I don't know.
Hancock, Paul Revere, Sam Adams, James Otis is big speech guy and also big crazy guy. Dr. Joseph Warren is the good doctor who fixes Johnny's hand. John Adams, Dr. Ben Church is the bad doctor because he was an actual British spy, and you can tell because everyone in the book, they only address him to be like, you're definitely a spy. We know this the whole time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
No one's
Billy
really
Dawes was
secretive,
real,
actually.
and Josiah Quincy, the lawyer, was real.
Oh, right, yes. Thank you, Ken, for that.
Secrets are
that
also
was-
really horribly kept in this
Oh,
book.
dude!
Like,
No one knows how to keep a secret! How did the revolution ever happen with these fucking
Yeah, I have
sieves
no
of
idea.
people? They are sieves! They are just leaking information constantly. It's so bad! Like,
People, it actively says like everyone just strolling up into the Boston Observer, and the troops are just kind of letting it happen because they're waiting for an order or something.
Yeah, and like so Johnny gets roped into the Sons of Liberty, which was kind of the group that I guess in many small parts orchestrated the revolution, the American Revolution. So he suddenly is like, just because he's literally just there, they're like, you lad, you can courier messages, right? And, like, first of all, what organization is like, I don't know, random teenagers, we can trust them, right? Like what are you doing?
When they literally grabbed out of jail.
Rab vouched for him.
And, like that makes no sense.
Rab
and,
is weird.
Rab is great. Fuck you.
Yeah, so Rab is like his BFF who works at the Boston Observer, and he's like tall, dark, and handsome and shit, and involved in the revolution.
Johnny's into Rab though, right? Like they're
exactly.
Doing it, right?
Can we real quick? Can we call attention to the Skype status D set for us?
No, I can't.
You go ahead and read it out for us.
Hang on. Wait, no, I get how I get. What the fuck is all I see? I mean, which is also appropriate.
Just read it out for us.
Wait, how do I get? Yeah, sorry guys, I can't see
Okay, so on our end it says Antiques Freaks, and then underneath that it says Johnny Tremain was gay for Rab.
Yeah.
So I'm with you, Chris. I'm with you on this.
I mean, there's a whole lot of supporting evidence here with
Wait, show me the support.
I have
Johnny
a list.
Let's take it away.
Ken's our
Take it away.
This is the Ken and Chris corner. The Ken and Chris gay love corner.
Whoa, okay, well, all right.
I'm lifting my eyebrows in a suggestive fashion.
Okay.
I just opened my fifth beer.
Yeah, I was going to warn the audience about
Slam
it.
it. Rip it, slam it.
Here comes the cliff that we're all about to fall off. All right, Ken, hit me with them details, them juicy deets.
Just real quick, again, the whole book's in Johnny's perspective, so we can assume all descriptions of characters are as Johnny sees them. So on page 102, we get Rab, enigmatical, dark, capable.
All right.
And then over here on page 215, we've got a conversation between Scylla and Johnny, where Johnny says, Rab wouldn't marry you. He's too wonderful. Scylla gives him one of his
do you not remember that
glances
part,
under the
Paris?
corner of her
Like
eye.
100%, he's like super into Rab. Like they share a bed sometimes because like it's old times and like you gotta share a bed and stuff about
no,
it.
it gets better because like
Continue.
Scylla says, "Wonderful. That's what you mean." And then the narrator tells us it was exactly what Johnny had meant.
Oh shit.
Johnny's thirsty.
But Johnny's like keeping on the down low, so what he actually says back to her is, "Of course not. But he's not like any other boy I ever knew."
Oh damn.
He's not like other boys.
I think it's pretty explicit here.
Yeah. I mean, he's like, I'm not gay for every man, but like Rab, though.
Maybe this
Rab.
was Esther's hints that, if you're a young man joining the army, perhaps you'll find that one boy not like any other boy when you're enlisted.
Yeah, I mean, she's just getting them prepared for all the gay trich sex that's gonna happen because you got no other options, right?
Yeah,
Is
he
that
knows
happening
it's
a lot in World War II?
My evidence was the fact that, like, there's that whole, like, breakdown he has where he's like, why am I so angry that Rab is interested in Scylla? Why am I so mad? And he's just like, I must want Scylla? Despite the text going on and on about how, like, I've never been interested in Scylla, so why am I still angry?
You know what's funny is I didn't even, alright, so fucking a round of applause to you, the rest of you, because I didn't even pick up on that. I was just like, oh, it's just a dumb kid realizing he's into girls, whatever, and just flip past the pages. I didn't even. I didn't pick up on the
The
gay
young man
subtext.
realizing that he's very into the enigmatic and handsome type, apparently.
Dark, tall, quiet.
He also takes special notice of Rab's dancing skills at one point.
Yes.
Notes that
Wait,
this is
really?
one of the
Yeah.
2 times that Rab becomes alive is when he's dancing. And
Did you fall asleep for the whole book, Paris?
I know.
My love. And I owe it all to Rab.
It's pretty clear that Johnny was super into Rab here, and it's kind of cute, honestly, because I think he even wants to hug or cuddle at one point a little bit. He expressed,
Wait, when was that?
Yeah, he mentioned something about wanting to be tender with Rab.
that
I'm
happens,
sorry,
multiple
really?
times.
yeah,
Really?
yes.
Okay, maybe I was just half asleep throughout this whole book because it was so boring and I missed all the gay shit.
Yeah,
That was her strategy the whole time. She was like trying to put everyone to sleep so they wouldn't notice the gay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
Did you
point.
miss the Founding Fathers orgy at the end?
Yes, I must.
Yeah,
There's also a bit where Scylla gives Johnny an apple, and John is like, "Oh, this apple's a symbol of our love," and then Rab eats it.
that is
Oh
fraught
my
with
God.
homosexual metaphor.
Like, do you get it? Do you get it?
Oh my god, that's so good.
He
I
wanted
didn't
to put
even
his
think
love
about
of
that.
Johnny inside him.
Yes.
Dino.
He wanted to eat that
Dino.
sweet apple.
Do you know?
And you can bet your bottom dollar he like traced the like part where the stem sinks into the apple in a suggestive fashion.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
you're right.
Yep,
And then Johnny
that's
was like,
definitely
"Hey,
happened.
I'm definitely into Scylla."
Yeah, he was
That's
like,
true.
he's like, yeah, vaginas though, or something.
How about that
Scylla-
girl?
Scylla's like most of the women are super inconsequential characters. Like Scylla is just kind of there to, I guess, be the red herring of the love interest when it's really Rab. And then
Oh yeah, hey, yo, can we talk about how he loves his cousin in like a creepy hate love kind of way? He's like wants to hate fuck her so hard.
Oh my god,
But, like,
yeah.
Oh, can we
he's
talk
just
about
like-
how he hopes she eats herself to death?
Yeah, he's like, yeah, that fucking bitch. She's
Inflation
so
fetish.
hot though. Ugh. And you're just like, Jesus.
Yeah, the
what's
language
wrong with
about
you?
her gets really sexual, very like
Page 70. I hope she kills herself overeating. Direct fucking
Wow.
quote.
R.E. Lavinia Light.
And then there's Isana, who's just I don't know why
I mean,
she's
is she
even
like
there.
a new black metal musician? Because that's what that name sounds like to me. Like,
Maybe
mean-
she's like some little girl that everyone harps on about being pretty, and like that's it. She might have like a terminal disease or something too.
what?
Wasn't she sick or something?
She was very sickly.
She was
Yeah.
annoying. She was like annoying sick. Like, she's like the kind of kid that's like, she's like the kind of kid that's like, I'm only gonna eat chicken fingers and French fries. Yeah.
And she has
everyone's
like an allergy to chicken.
Yeah, and everyone's like, oh man, we tried to feed her an apple and she like almost died. I don't know. I guess she just eats fried shit. Like, it was weird.
But yeah,
I was alarmed at the fact that every time Isana was in the text, there was, like, and I'm not even exaggerating, always a priest creeping up from the wings to just, like, feed her things.
and comment on how pretty she was.
Like, deeply
like-
uncomfortable.
Some
like-
priest is always waiting in the bushes for like a sickly young girl to give candy to and tell her how pretty she is.
Well, yeah, I mean, the whole thing with Isana, like, other than the fact that she's Isana, like, beside the fact that she's like a sick black metal musician, yeah, what was the whole thing with her was like, well, if you're beautiful, you're gonna be vain and a shithead and then get everything you want. Like, I don't understand
Yeah,
what
and
the
then everything
moral
will
of
work out.
Isana was. Like, it was very strange. It was like,
I-
if you're a shithead but you're really hot, I guess it's fine.
Also,
Yeah,
kind of reinforced
that's
by
the
the
takeaway.
rich girl character. Who was the rich girl character that was like? I think wasn't she like
Lavinia.
a light?
Lavinia?
Yeah, Lavinia. Yeah. Also, kind of the same idea.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, the whole...
Once
anyway,
again, a character that doesn't really matter.
no, women don't matter, Chris. It's the 1700s. Fuck women.
Yeah, what are they supposed to do for the revolution? Make sandwiches?
Meanwhile, Deborah Sampson.
Yeah.
She's not in this
Nah,
book.
they literally made food and, like, existed and produced children. That's all they did in this book. We kind of totally got off topic, but,
That's really, I mean, there's
yeah.
the Boston Tea Party, and then the old man makes a speech, and the revolution starts. The end.
Yeah, like, I don't know, Rab fucking eats it at the end of a musket at the Battle of Lexington Concord, I think. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, he chomps
And-
it.
But Johnny wasn't, like, super sad about it.
Oh,
I mean, he was, like,
I have,
sad,
a
but...
note.
Oh, Ken has more notes on this.
All right.
No.
Ken looks like he's like I'm looking at his materials right now,
What?
and he looks
Fuck
like he
off.
just like briefly descended into sort of like madness about Johnny Tremain.
No, I mean, that's great, because I am way too drunk to be recording a podcast and have no notes, so thank God for Ken.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, thanks Satan for Ken. Fuck God,
Yeah.
get out of here.
So, in the book Understanding Johnny Tremain by Elizabeth Weiss Volstadt,
Get out of here, you read another book?
Yeah,
I read two other
Oh,
books.
God.
Yeah,
I
two
read
of them.
Understanding Johnny Tremain, and I read Reading Johnny Tremain.
Whoa, overachiever.
And
Yeah, when
then
you open
there's-
up reading Johnny Tremain, it's like, what'd you do that for?
And then there's reading Understanding Johnny Tremain, which is actually just a basic phonics book, so...
But yeah, Johnny cares very deeply about Rab, according to this book, because it says, after the fighting begins, Rab becomes the focus of Johnny's worry when he hears that some men were killed at Lexington. At the end of the novel, as Rab lies dying, Johnny feels only misery and concern for his friend. Johnny thinks that he never knew the real Rab. But then, when Rab smiles at him, Johnny believes in Rab's love for him.
Oh.
For Johnny, everything he had never put into words was in that smile.
Oh.
Question. Was friend in quotation marks throughout that paragraph?
Oh.
I feel like the quotation marks were in our hearts.
Yeah. I mean, this is obviously like a revolutionary Boston gay story.
Yeah.
Something,
I can't
Boston
believe-
marriage.
Yeah, Boston marriage-thon.
I mean, that's the book, right? Like, the
well,
revolutionary stuff happens. He, like, warns Paul Revere, and Paul Revere goes off on his ride, and I guess off in the background gets the shit beat out of him by the British or whatever.
Well, you know what? All right, so you know what's really weird for me is so like reading this book is sort of surreal because, like I was saying, I worked in downtown Boston in the very area where Johnny lived and worked in this book, and now I actually work inside Harvard Square in Cambridge, which is and I work kind of near like the route that Paul Revere took. And there's, like, these little golden horseshoes, like, in the ground, and, like, oh, this is the route he took to Lexington.
That's adorable.
And so, every day I'm like, this is weird. Like, I don't know why it's so weird to me, but it just seems, I guess because the rest of the country is like, oh, man, the fucking revolution. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, I live here. It's whatever.
That's
like,
great because I think you were the only one having an experience like similar to what the author wanted.
Yeah, so this book totally worked for you, Paris.
Like it seems like you were actually like having moments where you were like, oh, I'm living history, and we're just over here going like, hey, suck his dick about it.
The rest of us just like into the obviously perverted part, and you're like, oh wow, that really is the route that Paul Revere once rode on his horse.
Oh, dude, who is your favorite character? Mine was Goblin.
Mine was Sandy.
Okay.
Who?
The other horse.
What other horse?
The war
Goblin
horse.
is the only horse.
Okay, so I fully agree with you that Goblin is best pony, for sure, absolutely no
Okay.
question, but my favorite character is Rab.
Because he's a sociopath.
No, fuck you!
No, he is kind of a
He's
sociopath.
stoic
I'm with
and
Dave.
competent and tall and dark and mysterious, and I imprinted on this book way harder than I realized as a child.
Wow, yeah.
And wants to fuck Rab.
The narrative goes out of its way to point out that Rab is like only a person when he's hurting people.
Or dancing! Or dancing.
I'm sorry.
Same
what?
thing.
Or
Same
dancing
thing.
is a kind of hurt.
Yeah.
Wait, how is dancing pain? Can someone explain this?
How do you express your pain, Paris? Physically.
Through dance.
Exactly.
Interpretive.
No, I write bad doom metal songs.
Have you never seen The Rite of Spring by Stravinsky? There's a lot of pain expressed in that dance.
I've had to play it, but I've never watched
Have you ever
it.
seen the video for Elastic Heart by Sia?
Also,
No.
it's the same thing as The Rite of Spring, that video.
No, hilarious that you bring up Sia because I only recently discovered she existed like last night when my boyfriend
Wow.
my boyfriend was like, hey, do you know this artist? And I was like, not really. And he played me a little bit of it because it was related to some meme he saw where this
Cool
where this-
boyfriend.
The chandelier one, right? It's the chandelier
yeah.
meme.
So this Asian guy, all right, this Asian dude. I'm sorry, I don't know what Asian persuasion this man was, but he gets scared and goes and goes what sweet.
Oh,
And,
I
don't
love
know,
that
he just,
video.
like, sorry, that was really awful.
Okay.
But it was really
Meme
funny.
updates with Terrible Book Club.
Yeah, and antique
Some
freaks.
antique memes for you.
Antique
Yeah,
memes.
wait. Do you guys know anything about the antiques listed in this book?
I can tell you a little bit about, so I've got like some off-color facts about Paul Revere that I don't know how to introduce.
No,
Just roll with them.
here it
There's
is.
no structure.
Here it is.
We're
So-
rolling out the red carpet. Just
Yeah.
go for it.
Paul Revere was, in fact, a real silversmith. He was considered one of the best silversmiths, actually. You have something to say, Ken? And you can see that. Look at your face.
Sorry, I have a quote from the book about Paul Revere from page 141.
Okay.
He did not draw well, not the way he made silver.
That's, like, rude.
Shots fucking fired at Paul Revere.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it's
Yeah.
Paul
Kind
Revere
of true, actually.
burns.
Paul Revere's, like, art was not good. And I don't know why, because he was a master metalsmith.
Yeah, like, how can you be bad at art if you make art 3D? Like, I don't...
Yeah, like, one of the... we we met in art school, so one of the things that you learn is that the better you get at, like, 3D modeling, like, when you're sculpting, you get better at drawing, because you have a better understanding of how to translate, like, those spaces and shapes. So
Dude, that makes so much sense.
It's impossible for me to imagine that he's like the beautiful crafter of these 3D objects, and then he tries to draw a picture, and it's just like, it's like Sonic the Hedgehog. Like,
see, I assumed it was because, like, you know how on, like, Project Runway or whatever, you get, like, the designers who can't fucking draw for shit, but they don't have to because they're the ones making the dress, so they know what those shorthand symbols mean, even though it looks like nothing but garbage.
That's possible.
So I'm assuming it's, like, the same with his silver shit, where, like, he knows how it will look when it's silver, and this is just to get it down, get it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
how about some more Paul
draft.
Revere facts?
He was also not just a silversmith.
Oh?
He was a goldsmith. Not as good as he was at silver, because gold is much meltier and, like, soft.
Wait, what? What? There's a difference between gold and silver?
Yes. Yeah. What? The two different elements, Paris.
No, I mean, sure, but, like, when things are hot enough, they're all kind of the same, right?
No.
Yeah. Well, gold doesn't hold its shape as well as silver.
Yeah, gold you can, like, bite
yeah, it's
and
super
make a mark
soft. That's why people always bite the coin or
That's
whatever.
True. Yeah, wait, do you guys bite shit?
Yeah.
Debite shit all the time.
It's basically like a meme that, like, if I want to know something about an item, it'll end up in my mouth.
Oh, yeah, I think I heard that.
Does this extend to non-gold, like wood and stuff?
No, pearls go in your mouth, right?
Pearls go in my mouth. A variety of gemstones in general, like a lot of how I determine...
Okay.
Just
well,
all jewelry ends up in
incredulous.
Dee's teeth.
And again, if Chris had ever listened to your show, he would not be so
I'm busy.
incredulous.
I'm editing so many podcasts.
I respect that.
Portraying things.
That's true. We have put out a lot of content recently, but yeah. So things end up in Dee's mouth. Anyway, back to Paul Revere.
Listen, there are micro textures on minerals that are very hard to feel with the fingers and much easier to feel with the teeth and tongue.
I mean, honestly, that's an incredibly impressive trait that you have. Like, I mean, if you put something in my mouth, like, I don't know, I could probably be like, I don't know, it's either dirt or a spoon. That's about all I can tell you. Like,
it's not
like, I have no idea.
It's not food.
That's the binary thing with you. It's either dirt or spoon. Like that.
Like,
dude, you're gonna lose it when someone gives you a spoonful of dirt.
Yeah.
No.
What do you do then? What if it's just a dirty spoon, though?
It does get wicked awkward because sometimes I, without thinking, will do this in front of a customer who is totally flummoxed as to why I just took their necklace and just, like, ate it.
Yeah, I can imagine that being a very troubling experience.
No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah,
I'm
fine.
tasting it.
Yeah, wait. Do you provide, like, some kind of disclosure? Like, if your item is appraised by this group, it may end up in an appraiser's mouth, FYI.
You know, no one ever warns for that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which is strange. But yeah, Revere also did iron, and copper, and brass, and bronze, I think.
So all the metals.
All the metals. He was actually Revere Copper, which ended up being the conglomeration of all of his attempts to, like, mass produce metals, was a company down here where we are, and Paris, where I met you.
Wait, is that what that fucking Revere sign is about?
Yeah, that was his actual
like-
business.
Oh shit, that's weird.
Yeah, it was in production up until about the 1980s.
Wait, was that in New Bedford, or was that in, like, Taunton, or Mattapoisett, or I don't know, I'm just saying names of places that were near where we
Mattapoisett sounds
were.
like a made-up town.
It was down near the packing
Matta-
district.
Wait, it was in New Bedford?
Yeah, right near the Wamsutta
Really?
mills.
Oh, which are now, like, fancy condos, which are cheaper than the fucking depressing, shitty apartment I live in now.
Yeah, you should. Hey, if you ever want to come on back.
Yeah, no, thanks. Sorry, guys. No fucking thanks. If anything, I want to airlift you guys out of where you are now.
Yeah, I would. Boston seems pretty lit.
Yeah.
We got any more Paul Revere facts?
Chris is like, hey guys, remember this thing we're supposed to be talking about? Yeah, he's
so
right.
more Paul Revere facts. He was briefly a dentist.
Makes sense. I mean, you got the metal to shove into people's faces.
Basically,
so
that's what he thought is like, oh, fillings are made out of silver. I'm good at silver.
Sorry, I just
Open your mouth. Here, I'm going to shove.
I just choked on my drink when you said that. I'm sorry. A dentist? Who would let this man near your face?
It was a lot of people. He was a very popular dentist in the short period of time he was practicing.
What?
He's also recognized as the world's first forensic dentist.
What?
Excuse me?
Yeah, a very real
Wait,
fact.
he's the molder of teeth?
That he is teeth molder.
Teeth molder, 17th century teeth molder.
Yeah, so when Dr. Warren, a character in this book, in real life he died in a battle a year after, like, the events of this book.
Was it Bunker Hill?
Yeah, I think it was Bunker Hill.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I live like right near there. Cool.
Yeah, dude, you could go find Dr. Warren's, like, teeth.
Stop giving people info as to where you live, Paris. I know you're too drunk right now.
I'm not, first of all, I'm not that drunk. Second of all, I'm not that close to Bunker Hill.
Christ.
No one's gonna find my house, and if they do, what the
She
fuck
fell
are
off
they
the
gonna
cliff a
do?
while ago.
Just hanging around Bunker Hill going, Paris! But yeah, so
Okay.
they enlisted Paul Revere to his family asked him to identify his remains. And they were having a hard time because they had been rotting for a year. And what he ended up doing is he ended up opening up all the corpses' mouths and found the, like, fake teeth he'd made for Dr. Warren, which is considered the first example of forensic dentistry.
Wait, so did he make the teeth out of, like, fucking slave teeth in wood?
No, he actually did it out of
Metal,
whale
Paris.
ivory and gold.
Whale, ivory, and gold. Okay.
Yeah, that's a
Okay.
very
Whale-
fancy set, yeah.
That's better.
Whale, ivory, New Bedford represent!
The guy Paul Revere
slave
studied
wood?
under made George Washington's possibly slave teeth.
Definitely slave
Sorry,
teeth.
sorry. I meant
Almost certainly slave teeth.
Sorry, I meant slave teeth, comma, and wood. Not slave wood, which
Slave
apparently
wood.
Chris thought I meant.
But
All right.
yeah, so Paul Revere did know very well the guy who ended up making George Washington's slave teeth.
Excellent.
And that's it for Paul Revere facts.
Okay. Well,
I
that
just
was
needed
a
you guys
nice...
all to know that he was a forensic dentist somehow.
No, I mean that was actually really interesting.
So, in a similar manner, this podcast started off being about one thing completely different from the educational ending that we're wrapping. I mean, there might be some more stuff to talk about.
Yeah,
I got tons.
Yeah, I got stuff. So
All
I
right.
wanted to talk about.
I'm going to sit back and let y'all take it away at this point.
All right, so one of the things that really bothered me about this book is the whole arrest and trial of Johnny Tremain. So Johnny had this silver cup that his mother gave him, and his mother was like, "Yo, if everything goes real shit, you're a fucking light. Don't you forget, you're a fucking light. You're fucking part of that family.
Baby, you're a
And he was like,
firework.
yeah,
L-Y-T-E,
yeah, baby,
light.
you're a light work." And he was like, "All right, mom." So his mom dies. He becomes a silversmith, and he has this prized silver cup that says he's part of the Light family, which is L-Y-T-E. It's some aristocratic rich people or whatever. And so, after he has his accident with the silver and has a deformed hand and can no longer be a silversmith, he's like, "Oh shit, that's right. I'm a light." Like, he tries to get jobs, kind of fails, and is like, "Well, I guess I can fall back on this." And so he tries to work it out, and he goes to see Jonathan. Is it Jonathan Light? Like, or
Yeah, I
is
think it's
it
Jonathan, right?
Merchant Light,
I don't-
Mr. Light.
Merchant Light.
Because I don't know why, but everyone in this family, in the Light family, is called Jonathan or Lavinia. I don't understand that. That seems real weird to me. But so he goes to Merchant Light and is like, "Hey, I'm actually your long lost cousin," and he's like, "Yeah, whatevs, dude. Like, somebody stole my cup. You're probably the asshole that stole my cup. Whatever." So anyway, there's like this confusion where Merchant Light is like, "Oh, I don't know, I only had like 4 cups and one is missing," but really there were 5 cups or something. I don't remember the exact number. And anyway, Johnny obviously didn't steal the cup. His mother gifted it to him as proof of his familial lineage. But anyway, Merchant Light is a fucking huge dickhead. Like, obviously, he's like a rich asshole in Boston at the time. And he's I think he's like in with the Brits, right? He's not.
Yeah, he's
not a
colluding with the Brits.
Right. So Johnny gets arrested for supposedly stealing this cup, because like he goes to try to prove his lineage by showing him the cup, and Merchant Light is like, "Nah, you stole that." So he gets arrested and like goes to trial. And I mean, in the book, he like wins the trial and you know, nothing happens. But I feel like in real life, that boy would have been fucking hanged. Like,
Oh, he'd be
that
dead.
boy
He'd
would
be
have been
fucking
dead
dead.
as
Completely
fuck.
dead.
Like no way would he have won that trial. So that was one of the points in the book where I was really turned off, because I was like, "This is simplistic. Like, there's no way he would have gotten out of that." Like, I don't know. It was a little too like, you know, like it was just a little.
Yeah, it definitely gave me like this like weird Aaron Brockovich vibe. Where it's like, and then he stood up to the bullies and he won against all the odds, and it's like, okay.
Oh, wait, is it supposed to be like a precursor metaphor to the revolution itself?
Oh, shit.
Fuck.
Oh, fuck, maybe.
Oh, fuck.
I don't understand
it was a
how that
metaphor
would
the
work.
whole time, you guys.
See,
Yeah,
I just thought it was a
all
metaphor
brilliant.
for how in America you're not supposed to depend on like family money. You're supposed to strike out and make it on your own. So like when Johnny tries to depend on family money, he is punished for it, and then like goes on to make it on his own and succeeds.
Oh yeah, totally. That's totally valid. But like in light of the current political sphere
it's
in
bullshit.
which we
It's fucking
reside,
bullshit.
it's fucking hilarious and terrible. But anyway, sorry, Chris, you're about to say something.
I kind of forgot what I was about to say about anything, really, to be honest with you. Because, like, I mean, the trial part, it seems like one of those things that just was, like, another end that wrapped up really quickly and it didn't really need to be there. And I don't understand why it was added to this book. Much like Isana or, like, pretty much the front half of the book about any silversmithing.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the whole thing, so, yeah, like, the family that Johnny Tremain silversmiths with, he's supposed to marry one of the girls of the family who's around his age, because the family's like, oh, our silversmith dad is on the outs, he's about to die, so, you know, his apprentice needs to take over and marry one of the girls to carry on the family legacy, or whatever. So you have the two girls that are about Johnny's age, which is, what's her name? And the other one?
Scylla and Asana.
Yeah, Scylla
No.
is his age.
Scylla, Madge, and
Madge, thank you.
Doris,
Scylla,
I think.
Scylla and Madge, or Scylla and Dora?
Madge and Doris are about the same age. Scylla's exactly Johnny's age and, like, low-key betrothed to him. And then Azana is just, like,
a baby,
tiny terror.
basically. Yeah, she's just, Isana's, like, way younger.
And then everyone keeps saying that Azana's just gonna die, so, like, ignore her.
Yeah, everyone's like...
That's why I said I thought she had a terminal disease, because...
I mean, that's...
Yeah,
That is
everyone's
very
like,
much-
she can't eat a horse meat. Forget about that bitch. Whatever. Like, okay.
There was very much the attitude towards children at that time just because infant mortality was so fucking high.
Yeah,
It's also where you get, like, repeat names in families because it's like, well, the last 3 Johnnies died, so this one's a do-over. It's Johnny
Dude.
4.
All right,
Johnny
so
5 alive.
Yeah.
Ken is like 1,000% correct, by the way. Like, just saying, that is absolutely
Yeah.
accurate.
Thank you, I feel so valid.
You are
Yeah,
valid.
so Isana is like this little shit. She can't eat anything, and everyone's like, I don't know, she's probably gonna fucking die. I mean, I know she's real pretty and everything. Like, the book loves to emphasize how attractive Isana is, even though she's like 5?
Deeply
or
uncomfortable.
7?
Incredibly
Or something.
uncomfortable.
She's definitely, like, under the age of 10, and the book is like, oh man, that Isana, though, and you're just like, ugh.
Which
But
makes it...
then, like, weirdly, Lavinia Light, Johnny's cousin, like, rich cousin, is like, I'm gonna take that baby
she
out
just
of my
steals
wing.
the baby.
Like, what?
Literally just takes
What?
him, like, it's like, oh, she's gonna come with me now, and the silversmiths were like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's
Fuck
so
it.
bizarre. Like, I can kind of understand from the Silversmith family's perspective, like, well, they're richer than us, she'll probably have a better life. Meh. But on the other hand, how common was this? Were rich people just cherry-picking attractive babies around the city? Like, was this a thing? I don't
Short
know.
answer, yes.
Really?
Long answer, yeah. No, I'm just,
Long answer, Countess Bathory.
Countess Bathory was infamous for that, yeah.
Well, yeah, but she like, murder those bitches to bathe in their blood. Like, I don't think
Yeah, but like the
Lavinia Light-
reason no one noticed that for so long was kind of like it was pretty common for rich people to go through like poor people neighborhoods and be like, that one's pretty. I want them to work in my house because I don't want to be surrounded by ugly servants. I only want pretty servants.
Yeah, it actually did
Okay,
happen a
that's
lot.
fair.
There's also, like-
that is fair.
It goes up into like well into the Victorian era because for a long time it was standard practice to hire footmen specifically, not because they were necessarily good at their job, but because they were at least 6 feet tall and handsome.
Yeah, you just wanted to have
Really?
the hottest
You
footman.
wanted to have a hot matching set.
Yeah, so sometimes people would go on strolls to, like, see if they could peep some hot dudes.
Wait, but like, wouldn't hot footmen cause a problem? Like, wouldn't everyone want to bone your
Yeah,
footman?
athlete's foot, actually.
But yes, also
Yeah,
everyone
like-
was fucking the footman.
Yeah.
Wait, but like, isn't that a problem? Like, don't you want people not fucking the footman?
It's only a problem if the neighbors find out, like most things.
Yeah.
The Victorians
And
can
then
be pretty summed up. Like, I'm kind of focusing Victorians because that's like the golden age of footmen. They could be summed up by like, it's fine if nobody finds out.
I'm hearing this as a foot fetish thing instead of like a soldier thing
my
right now.
footman.
Nah, footman. It goes butler, under butler, footman.
Wait, is that how foot fetishes started? Like,
Yes, Paris, that's how it started.
Someone
you
said, "I'll have
figured it
my
out.
footman attend to you," and they were like, "Oh God, yes."
Yeah,
they were like,
That's how they found out.
Get my feet ready.
we figured it out.
And then he was just like, "I'll take your coat, sir," and he's like, "This is a disappointment."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not what I was expecting. I was expecting full-on feet treatment, foot treatment.
All right. Well, does we have anything else to say about this
yeah.
as besides feet people?
Oh,
or whatever?
absolutely, because Ken and D have some shit. Let's fucking chop Antiques
Yeah.
Freaks. What you got to say?
Ken, what do you got?
I just wanted to, speaking of Izana and that whole fucking weirdness,
Yeah.
can we talk about how on page 193 Johnny slaps her in the fucking face for being a whore?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wait, how is she a whore?
Because she, Lavinia Light is going to a masquerade party, and she and all the British soldiers are going as a match set where Lavinia will be like the queen of spades,
Yeah.
and like everyone else will be like knaves and knights and kings and whatnot. And Izana is going as a two-spot. And to do this, they take Izana, strip her naked, and then start making her costume in a room full of adult men.
Oh,
And
wow.
Johnny's reaction to this...
I might have missed that.
Yeah, Johnny's reaction to this is to storm into the room and slap Izana, the child, for being a whore.
Yeah. And then there's
Yeah.
also like an interesting point where Lavinia is just like, that would be pretty funny if we took him to the party and then he slapped everyone because they're all dressed like whores. And she makes like an accidentally kind of astute point about Johnny being kind of old-fashioned.
Yeah.
Where she's just like, lay off the bitches,
Also,
Johnny.
like, blame
Yeah.
the child
Yeah.
who
Yeah,
has zero
don't-
control over the situation.
Yeah, like, if anything, smack Lavinia Light, because she's the orchestrator of this nonsense.
Yeah,
But
like-
anyway.
Please.
Yeah, because she's, puppeting the child.
Yeah, and Asana becomes her weird little, puppet wordy, like, her weird...
She is the Chihuahua to Lavinia's Paris Hilton, basically.
Dude,
Yeah.
yes.
Like she's
she
her
is
purse
the
pet.
little human chihuahua that fucking Asana becomes. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I mean, what else happens in this book? I guess this book was also like, hey, someone with a visible deformity, be nice to them. But I didn't really get that.
I kept forgetting, I think.
It kept doing the 1940s thing of you wouldn't be disabled anymore if you just tried hard enough.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I had some strong emotional reactions when Johnny was trying to look for work with a disability.
Oh, yeah, Chris,
as someone
let's-
that's had to live with that a lot in my life. So that was like the one part of the book where I was like, oh, that sucks. I can relate to that, buddy. And
Yeah,
then everything
like-
else was boring.
Yeah, like going into jobs and being like, hey, I can work here, and then being like, yo, but that hand, though.
Yeah.
And then being like, oh, never mind, I guess. Because, yeah, Chris has some vision
I have eye
issues.
problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Noted,
that
but
was
just
one
by
of the
me
good
knocking the
parts.
mic right there.
Sorry, what?
That was one of like the better parts. Was just like, oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
it's-
yeah.
That was one of the only good parts, I would say.
I mean, except I really didn't like Johnny Tremain. I thought he was shit.
Yeah.
And I didn't really like how he was as a human. I mean, and I'm not saying every book has to have the most likable main character, but it is really tough to read something when you don't give a shit about the main character at all, and you think they're a little fucking dickhead. Like, it's really hard to keep going.
Yeah, if he just got
that's what Rab is
hanged,
for.
then I would have been fine.
That's the
What?
magic of Rab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just need a handsome, enigmatic, confident, capable man to
Yeah,
orient you right and get you in on the revolution.
So, I mean, Johnny Tremain sucks for a number of reasons. So, one, women have no agency in this book. Two, Johnny Tremain himself is kind of a fucking dink. Three, it's really written in a very, like, non-realistic way, and that the main character is somehow interweaved into all of this Revolutionary War intrigue that seems just, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like one person would really be involved in,
Yeah, he's like
all of these
everyone's
things.
go-to man.
Yeah, and like, I don't know, it's just written, I mean, the writing,
It's just written. That's it. That's my problem.
I know.
It happened.
No, I mean, the writing wasn't terrible, but it was plotting and kind of boring. Like, I didn't really, there were very few passages where I thought to myself, nice. Like, most of them I was just like,
Not even the rad parts,
whatever.
Paris? Not even...
No,
You didn't
I-
notice
Not even
that.
I mean, I missed the Rab Johnny fucking sick gay love intrigue. Like, I'm sorry. I totally missed it, so thank God for the rest of y'all. But, yeah, I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of this book, and also thinking about who this book was for, and at the time at which it was written, who would have fucking paid attention long enough to get anything out of this book? Like, this book was written for teenagers in the 40s and has been assigned to teenagers in decades since. I can't imagine any teenager today suffering through reading this and actually enjoying it. I don't think so.
Yeah, one of my biggest problems with, like, the technical craft of the writing was that it started at random, like, it's unpredictably would switch point of view to suddenly we would be getting, like, the internal monologues of a tertiary character, and then it would snap right back. And I hated that. It was very confusing and annoying.
I mean, I also think I hated it because it was very... I mean, I know that Esther was a historian, and it shows in the writing very strongly. I mean, because you were never really getting anyone's, like, true emotional internal turmoil. You were getting, like, that filtered through some shitty historian looking at it 200 years later. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It was, like, it wasn't very gripping, and like I said, I just feel like overall it's really unrealistic, and I think that she should have just stopped at the biography of Paul Revere. I mean, she also wrote some other things about sort of Massachusetts history shit. Like, she wrote A Mirror for Witches, which was about the Salem witchcraft trials, and she was working on something else about the Salem witchcraft trials also when she died. I don't know. I mean, I haven't read any of that shit, but I don't know that it would be for me necessarily. I'm also picky as fuck and, like, can't really be trusted for reviews because
I cannot be trusted.
Like, nah, dude, I just hate everything. Like, I'm
It's the podcast.
real picky. Like,
The honesty's coming out with 5 drinks in.
No, it's true though. I'm real picky. Like, the things that I like are very specific. I generally, I just don't really, and it's not that I hate most things. It's just that I'm not impressed by most things. I guess it takes a lot to kind of really raise my interest. So. Yeah, I don't know.
Excuse me, parents. You're high and mighty.
I mean, I'm like a golden retriever, and I end up liking a lot of things that are sort of trash. And I hated this book, so if that makes you feel any better.
Oh yeah, totally. It really does, actually.
Because like I was sitting here, like I liked a bunch, like in Carceron, I read like young adult fiction that's objectively bad. And I'm like, nah, guys, but the idea, it's kind of fun. Like, and this was like, it was shit.
Yeah, it was not good. And I mean, this book has won like multiple awards, and like the author is celebrated and shit. And I'm just like, I don't know, man.
Kenna, you come into this book's defense.
Get it in right now, man. It's your last shot here. Yeah. So make a decision.
One, Rab is perfect and beautiful, and I want to rescue him and put him in a better book.
Okay.
Oh.
And 2, can we just have a quick moment for how this book approaches, like, black people as a whole?
Oh, yeah, I had a note in my book that was just like, this book is crazy racist.
Every time a black person shows up, it becomes an instant Amos and Andy skit. Like, fucking...
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's real bad. They're like at the beginning, they were like, black folks, huh? And you're like, ugh.
It's very weird with all the big vaunted speeches about like a man can stand up, and then like 5 minutes in the background was a guy like just kicking over a black woman, going like, "Get back to work."
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah,
what I was saying about liberty.
it's
Continue your speech, good sir.
Reading Johnny Tremain by Neil Himes.
Thanks, Neil Himes.
Whether or not it was Forbes' direct intention, they remind the reader that the idea of liberty cherished by the American colonists during the founding of the American Republic did not include Africans.
Okay,
yeah,
right.
yeah, it certainly does.
It's a completely uncritical look at it too, because she was writing in the 40s, like pre-civil rights, and I'm assuming a white woman, because boy, howdy does it read like it.
Yeah.
And
yeah, right.
she's just like, black people, I guess they exist too, but they're not like people. And just like, could you not, Forbes? Could you not?
She was like, well,
could
someone's
you
gonna be
stop
washing
for 5
the toilet.
minutes?
I mean, and also, there was, I'm sorry, I don't remember the character's name, but there was, like, a washerwoman in the Light household.
Lydia, I think, right?
Lydia? Was that her name? I don't know.
Bessie was the one in the Light household.
Bessie? I don't know. Bessie,
Liddy was
maybe.
at the Afric Queen, and I I don't know that
Mrs. Bessie, yeah.
Anyway, one of them was actually quite important in terms of kind of like keeping tabs on like Sons of Liberty messages, and she was afraid that her the lights were gonna get fucking, murdered or some shit. So she was like, yo, you guys should probably leave town like tonight instead of tomorrow night. And, I mean, and she also, I can't remember if it was her or the other black washer woman or something who helped Johnny with a couple of things. Yeah, I mean, they're not really given their due, and he also kind of talks about African Americans as, I don't know, he definitely said some kind of like mildly disparaging shit.
He said some fucked
shit
up
at the beginning.
shit.
Yeah, I kept expecting, like, it started with, like, there's that scene where a lady throws water on him by accident, and he's like, I was about to tell her what I thought about blacks. And, like, at that point, I was like, okay, so part of the narrative is probably going to be, because I've never read this before, this whole thing. I thought part of the narrative was going to be that Johnny, like, realizes what, like, a racist jerk he was, and he's going to be like, oh my god, we all deserve freedom. And I was racist. But, like, the book just, like... And what I learned is that I deserve freedom and not Lydia or Mrs. Bessie.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically... Yeah, I also was waiting for that turnaround. Like, he's gonna realize all men deserve to stand up and all this shit. But no, that never happens.
Especially considering he's got, like, this whole disability thing where he's like, I now understand what it's like to be looked down on. But
he never makes that fucking connection. Nope, he's an asshole.
He does develop empathy, does he?
No. And Rab even, like, yells at him. He's like, dog, you need to try.
Rab doesn't yell. Rab gently suggests.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
True. But yeah, if that's the lesson for this book, then you don't have to change anything. You're cool. Everyone stay the same, and we should be fine.
And nothing changes.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, this book, I mean, I barely held my attention, and I'm, dare I say, I'm nearly 30. So that's terrifying. But it barely held my attention. I can't imagine putting this in the hands of a 16 or 17-year-old saying, yeah, read this book, feel good about America. Like,
so good.
They're gonna throw it in the nearest fire. Like, this shit is not entertaining to them. I don't know. Like, Esther tried real hard.
All right, last words on this book. Give me
Hold
a
on,
phrase.
wait, I have to. Ken has a note here that I'm reading over his shoulder that you have to say out loud.
Why are you cheating?
I'm cheating. I'm cheating.
And honestly, I also want to hear about more antiques-related details. So continue.
I'm gonna clarify for everyone when they reference repoussé, like silver work. They did not explain what that was. I was angry.
Oh, yeah. I actually wanted to ask you what that was.
It's the worst beat poetry I've ever
is
heard.
a highly skilled method of silverworking that involves hammering out a design from behind the piece that will be showing.
Oh, so it's like, is that embossing or the opposite of embossing?
It's reverse embossing. You've got like the general, it's like instead of inscribing on the surface, you're going behind it and like hammering out the details so they look puffy.
So you're making it punch out instead of making it sink in.
There's a word. It's not embossing, it's something. God damn it.
Engraving?
Engraving, yes, thank you.
This is unlike engraving. It is much more like sculpting in reverse. It's very difficult to do. It is considered the skill of a master. And one of the things that pissed me off is the idea that a fucking 14-year-old boy would be able to, like, approach the level of skill of Paul Revere as an adult man. Because it definitely tries to sell me on that.
I also thought that was odd that he was like, yo, I can make this sugar bowl just like Revere, whatever. And you're just like, dude.
And he does
like,
it?
What? Like, how? Yeah, it was strange. I don't know, any other antiques notes for this episode of Johnny Tremain?
No antiques notes, but one final gay note.
Okay, yeah, gay notes are also
We're now the gay
welcome here.
freaks.
So, for once, it's not related to Rab or Johnny.
Ooh.
But on page 146, we get the quote, Johnny thought how the Tories were saying that Sam Adams seduced John Hancock, even as the devil had seduced Eve, by a constant whispering in his ear.
Wow,
so gay.
I missed that. That's incredibly gay.
I mean, the context was that he seduced him to the revolution side, not into his literal bed, I believe.
The gay revolution.
But it does mention Adam and Eve, which is also a very strong sexual metaphor.
That's where it kind of, my idea of it breaks down.
Also, the use of the word seduced? Did they have to say seduced?
I mean, but like, you could probably get someone into the revolution with your dick?
Oh, absolutely, for sure.
Dude, Sam
And a
Adams
butt?
probably had it crazy in the
Is that not
sheets.
what Rab did?
That's almost certainly what Rab did.
Yeah, that's very true.
You guys ain't leaving big old Hank out of this, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hell no. Hank was a freak in the bed.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what they say about a big signature.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh.
And with that,
It occurred to me we didn't mention the Boston Tea Party at all.
Oh, yeah. That was shitty and racist
it's
as fuck.
really unimportant anyway. Like, honestly, it doesn't.
Yeah,
they all
it was pretty sidelined.
They all get together, they throw the tea in the harbor, and that causes the battle
Well,
to
no,
start.
they fucking pretend to be Native Americans, which is what they actually did. They were like, oh, if we paint lines on our face
Yeah.
and put feathers
and
in our
also
head.
speak in
real
racist
Disney's
accents
Peter
for
Pan
that one,
about it.
too.
Yeah. Yeah, so once again, Johnny Tremain is part of all Revolutionary War things, including the Boston Tea Party. So if you're unfamiliar, the Boston Tea Party was an event where Sons of Liberty boarded some fucking ships, I don't remember, but they were full of tea.
The Nina,
at
the
time.
Pinta, and the Santa Maria.
No.
Yeah,
No,
the only
no.
ships to ever
The
occur.
Titanic.
No, and the Titanic, yeah. They boarded all those. So at the time...
The SS Anne from Pokemon, too, turns out.
Yes.
It was over there.
At the time, tea was... So the way that... So, alright, so now most people have tea in those little, like, satchels that you buy in the store, like, individual satchels. Or you might buy it, like, loose leaf if you're slightly, I don't know, fucking fancy or whatever. But back then, tea was compressed into these, like, really, really, I don't want to say compressed again, but they were...
Dense?
heavily compressed into these dense blocks where you would just shave off some pieces and put it into boiling water to make your tea. And so when they toppled all these crates into the Charles River, it permanently stained the river. I mean, I think it's still technically stained, right? Charles is still fucking slightly brown.
It's definitely gross, so...
Yeah.
I thought that Charles was brown because it nasty. Like,
No, I mean, the tea actually stained the river.
holy shit, really?
Yeah, that's like a real
Are you sure
thing.
about that? Like, the ocean is running through that river, and there's a whole lot of ocean.
Yeah, well, you know what? New
But it's
Bedford
also in a
is
sediment,
host-
which, like...
I was gonna say
True,
New
okay.
Bedford is host to a super fun site, which is like, if you're a super fun site, you are so polluted you're producing like three-eyed blinky fish from The Simpsons. Like, I mean, and the fucking ocean runs through that shit too, and that didn't fucking get resolved until the EPA came in.
All right,
so,
fair enough.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
So that means,
means
hey, does that mean if I drink from the Charles River, I'll have like a caffeine rush?
no, it's
Shit.
It's pretty
You'll have
diluted at this
something. You'll get a rush. I get like there's a chemical getting in you.
But I don't know if I'm wrong about this. Please feel free to correct me.
I hope you're not, because it sounds cool as hell.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it's still fucked by the Tea Party. And basically, the Sons of Liberty were like, it wasn't us, it was the Native Americans, he, which is a
Jesus.
shitty thing to do. But, you know, that was that. And apparently Johnny Tremain was there pushing tea over for
He did it. Just like you,
shitty
kids.
friends. Yeah,
Yeah.
just like you. Get involved in those revolutionary acts. I don't know. How does this book even end? Like,
We talked about that already. Like,
Rab
yeah,
dies.
yeah, and like,
Best character dies and nothing means anything
Goblin
anymore.
is still alive at the end of the book.
dude, Goblin is my
Fuck
favorite.
you.
Goblin is the best. So Goblin was Johnny's horse.
Yeah.
And as in every children's book starring a horse, Johnny is the only person who can ride Goblin right. Like Goblin hates everybody but Johnny, and Goblin is only good for Johnny, and Johnny rides Goblin to deliver the news and shit.
After Rab
and-
teaches him.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
they have a
and
whole romantic like horseback riding lesson.
Oh yeah. I just love Goblin because he's named fucking Goblin. Like, you wouldn't
very
expect
good.
He's the
that
most
in
beautiful horse in Boston. And they named him Goblin.
yeah, like what the fuck? So I don't know.
As a side note, but how many kids do you think have died as a result of children's media selling them on the idea that if they just get on a horse, it will love them and ride for them?
Oh my
That is
god,
fair.
I hope dozens at least. I hope.
My favorite character was Sandy, the other horse, the Colonel's war horse, just because of that one sequence where they execute like Mr. Pumpkin, and the horse gets all excited because it's a war horse and it hears drums and it's like, oh, time to be a war horse.
Yeah, it's like, oh shit, someone's
actually really
dying.
cute.
Yeah.
Someone's playing my jam down there, guys.
Oh yeah, we didn't really talk about like all those ancillary characters.
We
like
don't have to.
pumpkin
This has been
shit.
going for an hour and a half. I've tried to end this podcast like 5 times. I don't know if you noticed.
Sorry, Chris.
I mean, first of all, it's been an hour and 10 minutes, so fuck you. Secondly,
Chris is over there going, oh god, I have to fucking edit this.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, I don't know. Do you have any other like antique specific knowledge about this?
They said no already, Paris. Pay attention.
I tried to like mine this book for anything, but they were really like close-lipped about anything. They were just like, they didn't talk about silver as much as I was expecting them to.
Yeah. I mean, I guess so. Yeah, so, overall, my review is don't fucking read this book, as per usual. I don't know if anyone else feels differently.
If you need a sleep aid, it's pretty good.
Yeah. This book was way longer than I anticipated. It was like 300 and something pages, and I was not ready for that. Yeah, I don't know. Antiques Freaks, what's your
Final say
My
here.
review is read the first, like, couple of chapters for the accurate depiction of silversmithing, and then dip.
Fair, that's fair. That's very fair. Or, like, if you've... I also feel like maybe we don't appreciate it because we've lived in Boston, and it's like, what the fuck ever. But I guess if you've never been to Boston or Cambridge and you don't really... Like, you've never experienced anything about the Revolutionary War in America, it might be a good read for you to kind of get a feel for the time. But, like, it is pretty boring.
There are better books out there you can read to get the same effect.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah?
it's very good for the oppressive nature of religion at the time. Like,
I mean, yeah.
if you want to, like,
did religion feature in this book at all? Other
Yeah,
than
the
creepy
creed.
priest?
Yeah.
It's legal to work on Sundays, and it's legal to ride
yeah.
on Sundays, and it's legal to deliver papers on Sundays and take payments for papers on Sundays.
yeah.
But it is legal to give pretty children candy whenever you want.
So, Ken, what's your rating of the book?
Rab out of Rab.
Best
You heard it
rating.
here. It's got a rabbit of rab.
Yeah.
Read if
One
interested in
rab
the
and
rab.
one rab.
This book has a rab in it, therefore
Yeah.
it is a rab book.
I think Ken has a fucking rab fetish that we've got
No,
to
Ken's gonna-
cure.
Ken's
I just
crush.
rediscovered a childhood crush, and I was just like, oh, this explains every other character I've ever liked.
Only rab is real.
Yeah, only rab is real. Rab for rab.
Rab for
Fanfiction.
life. Terrible
for
Book
life.
Club
Yeah, 10
out.
out of 10 rab fan fiction.
It's
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
I would give
all
it
right,
a 3
y'all.
out of 10 Revolutionary War fan fiction.
3 out of 10 muskets. How many muskets do we give this
3 out of
book?
10, yeah.
3 out of 10 muskets.
Rab
All right,
out of
that's
10
enough.
muskets.
That's enough of this.
Chris is so upset.
I need
think
to
we
edit
have
this later.
Chris,
Stop talking about
Chris, we
muskets and
entreat
rab.
forgiveness.
Okay. All right.
Okay, all right.
That's
well,
we're going to wrap this up right now.
Thank you, Antiques Freaks,
Thank
for being
you very
on this
much.
episode. You were
Thank you
wonderful.
so
was-
much.
This was a ruckus good time.
Not even that drunk. I think I was just thinking about.
You had 5 hard seltzers.
Fine.
It's like the funniest sentence I've ever heard in my life.
All right, everybody. Thanks for this episode.
Well, we would love to come back on again if Chris will. I promise I'll keep the runtime shorter.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Love you guys.
Yeah. This was great. Thanks for tuning in. Listen to the Antiques Freaks if you have not. It's pretty easy to find their show. Just fucking Antiques Freaks, whatever. Like, there's nothing else like them. Unlike Terrible Book Club, where you have to sift through piles of bad book clubs to find us. We're there, but
we got a Patreon.
yeah, we got a Patreon.
We
Antiques
got a
Freaks
Facebook.
also have Patreon. I subscribe to their Patreon to get sweet antique postcards every month. So far, they've been
yeah.
hilarious, and I love them. You can subscribe to our Patreon for some exclusive content, like us watching the Legend of the Seekers ABC series from 10
Oh, I
years
can't wait to
ago.
get into that.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
there's plenty.
Yeah, I mean, we just posted an episode including red leather bodysuits.
Yep,
so.
there's a whole lot of red leather
Yep.
tight to bodies.
I'm ready
It's-
for it. My
it's-
body
I-
is ready.
Yeah, dude, I can't believe this shit was on ABC. But anyway, thanks for listening. Find us all on social media. We all have Facebooks, Instagrams, etc. Chris, you look like you're going to say something.
I'm going to say goodbye to everybody.
Chris is like, I just want to shut the shit down. All right. Thanks for listening to this wonderful crossover. Make sure you listen to the Antiques and Terrible Book Club.
Bye.
We love you. Mwah, mwah.
We love you too. Mwah. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.